Hey folks, thanks for tuning into this lesson on variables. So to begin with, what is a variable? A variable is a name that is used to store information. Now, in the context of this particular lesson, that information is going to be strings or text. In later lessons, I should say, we're going to be looking at numbers. But today we're just looking at strings, keeping it a bit simple. Let's have an example, okay? I'm going to make a variable and I am going to assign the information to that variable. What's the game? Roblox. Cool. That's a game. I've never actually played Roblox, but people say it's good. You can grow fruit or something. All right, I've made a variable and I've called that variable game. Now, how do I know that I have made a variable? Because I have a single equal sign there. This is a very good clue when you're looking through your code. That equal sign in coding speak stands for assignment. And it means I have assigned this bit of information here. It's a small bit of information. It's one string. And I've assigned that to this variable called game. And remember, a variable is a name that is used to store information. Brilliant. If I was to run this, unfortunately, I can't play Roblox just by assigning a variable. That would be pretty neat. We'll have to have a bit more information than that. But nothing's working here. However, if I was to go into a little bit more detail and print game, aha, we have the word Roblox appears. So what's going on? Let's break it down a bit. I've assigned that information to a variable, and then I am calling on the variable. Maybe that's not the best way to say it, but I'm saying, yo, variable, come to me. Give me all this information that you've got. And that's kind of interesting. Maybe the other side of the coin is you're like, Mr. Taylor, why would I care about this? Like, why can't I just say print Roblox? And why do I need to make a variable? Well, if you're thinking that, that's a very good question. The reason that we would do this is because it ends up making life very efficient for us when we're doing lots of coding. Let me show you an example of this. If I had a bunch of these print statements, welcome Alex, Alex feels scared. I keep using the name Alex a lot, and that's fine. But let's say you ask a question in your game to change the player's name, for example. That's really common in a game. You don't want to have to manually go in and say, oh, okay, I'm going to call myself Jess or something like that. Okay, because then you're going to have to change every single one. And that's just a pain. It's a pain in the bum. So instead, if we were to be a bit smart, we can go to using a variable. I'll show you this. I'll print it. Okay, this is what we've got. I'm going to change Alex to Jess. Boom shakala. Look at that. Very efficient. So this is why we would use a variable. Makes life a lot easier for us. Later, we will be using many variables because we're going to be storing lots of different types of information. Let's unpack a few rules that we'll need to consider when we're looking at variables though. The first one, most common mistake. I've got my game equals Roblox and I'm going to print game. Okay, that works. Let's say I use a capital G here. Game equals Roblox, print game. And I hit run. It's not working. And I get a very common error, which you can see here. Name error, name game is not defined. Did you mean game? So it's actually giving you a clue. Line 4. So it's telling you, yo, something's wrong here, man. Have a squeeze at it. And it's even, this is why I love PyCharm actually. It's even highlighted it under red, saying this variable that you're referring to has never been defined. So even though they're spelled exactly the same, it's very important to consider, do you have capital letters and things like that? Okay, so we'll go again. All right. If I was to go, what's another fantastic game? I'll give you an old classic of mine. Spent way too much. I don't even know if I had a good time playing this game. If you guys know about League of Legends, give it a whirl. Okay, wild ride. But let's have a look at it. Game equals Roblox, game equals League of Legends. What's going to happen when I run this code and I print game, are we going to get Roblox or League of Legends? We hit run, we get League of Legends. So if you assign information to the variable a second time, it'll override it. Now that can be kind of useful. There's like certain ways that you can do that in your game. But generally speaking, you want to be a bit careful. I'll give you another example that usually comes up. Let's say you've got a bunch of locations in your video game. And there's some fancy ways that you can make a map, and you can make your different things, but we might have a cave, a castle, a forest. Excellent. If I, again, was going to print location, I'm going to get forest. And cave and castle are completely lost. So something smart is that you could put a letter at the end of each one if you wanted, and I could say I'm going to print location C or location B. It's changing it here. You could do a number if you wanted. I would be very careful to, you wouldn't do something like that, location or something like that. You want to kind of keep track. You want it to be a little bit organized. Yes, you could say, you could even be really, really cheap with how much writing you do. And you could do something like this. You could assign, I'll just print B. That's fine. But it is not going to be useful for you when you read your code. You might get a bit lost and you're like, what does A and B and C mean? So it is worthwhile just putting a little bit of language into that, just a smidge, say location A, location B, that sort of thing. Okay. The last rule for us this lesson is we want to not just print a variable, we might want to print it with some other information there. So let's say I want to say you are in location B. That's what I want to say. You want to get into this area and it'll say you are in the castle. I should put the, right? Unfortunately, this will not work this way. If I run it, I'm going to get this invalid syntax. Oh God, look at this. PyCharm's actually telling us what's wrong here. Line 7, have you forgotten a comma? Yeah, I have forgotten a comma. I don't fully understand the reason behind this, but Python doesn't understand. It doesn't know how to print a string next to a variable. You need to kind of separate it. You need to give it a little bit of a heads up. And the way that you do that, there's two ways that we'll teach you. And the first simplest way is to just put a comma. And again, that red line is gone. So PyCharm's got your back here. But if you hit play, you're in castle, all right? Or you are in the castle. So that is how you would combine a string to a location. And if I was to write some more information at the end, it is very scary. This is going to work only if I put a comma there just to separate the two, all right? And you could even put another variable. Location C was much nicer. You in the castle is very scary. Forest was much nicer. There we go. Okay. Just to summarize, variables, definitely use them. I know at this stage you're like, I'm not really writing that much code. Why would a variable be there? But trust, it will make life a lot easier. And part of your game development is you will need to come up with the different types of variables and the different types of information that can be linked to those variables. Other than that, have a good one.